Hello and welcome back to the Sports Resort. This is your home for all things sports. I am your host, Gannon Cornley. I'm with my main co-host, Toby Todd, right here. Welcome, you guys. We have been on a small hiatus, a small one, but we are back. Couple of vacay trips for each of us. Been out of town, but we are back. As you can see, before we get things started, rocking the new merch. Again, hit us up if you're needing a shirt. We have plenty on demand. More are on the way. I told you guys, I promised you T-shirts. They are here. They are coming. So definitely let me know. Let each of us know if you are needing one. We will definitely hook you guys up. They come in different colors, different sizes, and they're just our T-shirts featuring our logo on them. So big shout out to their Sports Resort and everyone who has been supporting us from the beginning. This merch is for you guys. Thank you so much for all the support. We'll continue to get more and more merchandise for you guys out there who are the real ones. But thank you again for just being there as we go through this. But we are here to talk about episode number 47. A lot has happened since the last time we have done a show. Obviously cannot cover everything, quite what's happened. Sports never ends. It never stops. There's always something to be covering. So we will do our best to get you guys caught up. Of course, we're going to be talking about what went down in the NBA Finals as that wrapped up last week with the Bucks winning. We did talk a little bit about NHL before we stopped, but we do have a little bit of news there. MLB, just another MLB update. We have some NFL news, which we will get to. We are also later on this week doing a full-on NFL special later on this week as well, a show dedicated just to all of the NFL news that we have missed. So we will get you caught up with that as well. Of course, it's the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, as we have a whole lot of action involved there. Lots of medals have already been won. Lots of more medals to be won as the USA is taking over. We're doing very well so far as we have the most medals as of today. Not the most gold, but we do have the most medals. So we'll break down all that coverage for you guys. And, of course, we have some college football we need to talk about, some soccer we need to talk about, combat sports, all in the show for today. So stay tuned as we will try to hit each and every one of those topics. Toby, before we get started, anything you got to say, my man? It's been too long.
It's been really long. Obviously, we apologize. We're humans. We've got lives going on outside of this. When we start making more off this, we'll make sure to put out a lot more. But until then, we're just going to enjoy ourselves while we're young. But I'm glad to be back. And we'll, to the best that we can, we're going to try to get all of our thoughts out there for you. Some stuff quicker than others. But we're going to try our best on this one. And we'll be smooth sailing next week for sure.
Absolutely. A lot to cover, but we'll get it going. So we might as well, with that, get us started with episode 47. So close to the big 5-0. Only 3 episodes away. That's crazy. And before you know it, right as we hit that episode, the NFL will be about to hit preseason, which is nuts to think about. And we have some shocking NFL news right before the podcast actually got started with some major NFL news, and particularly one player making a big announcement. So we'll get to that. But before, as you guys know, before we start every show with our true core content, we have a segment titled "What Is You Doing?" highlighting some of the biggest idiots in the world of sports. People out there doing way too much and need to stop. I'm just gonna get this off my chest because I've been holding this in pretty much until what day was it? Was it Sunday, Saturday? I've been on this. And I can't hold it in no longer. Our United States men's basketball team, what is you doing? I don't care if you guys have never played a second of basketball together, which you have. I don't care what's going on. That is unacceptable. That is a disgrace of what the type of basketball we are playing out there. We lost once. Okay, that should have been our scare. We lost. We were out there messing around. And I know we've had some roster changes and whatnot, but this is downright embarrassing, okay? And no disrespect to France, as they are a great team. They got some very good players, some NBA players at that, some good NBA players at that. But let's be real here. A team that features Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, that's it. A team that features Kevin Durant. Nothing else needs to be said after that. Should not be losing to a caliber of France. A team that features Damian Lillard should not be losing. A team that has Greg Popovich as its coach should not be losing to the caliber of France or any of these other countries. No disrespect, as they put in the work. They put in great time, and they have some very good players. But let's be real here. What are we doing? What are we doing out there? It's not even like the other team is just shooting lights out, and we're just, we're just unlucky. We struggle to get to 80 points as a glorified all-star team. Do you know what the scores we put up during the all-star game? They put up 80 points at halftime. We're struggling to do that in the entirety of a game full of some of our best stars in the league. I don't understand. I don't know what we're doing out there, but this has to stop. It was one time, all right, you caught us slipping, whatever. Losing again, guys, come on. Because now we're going to make it hard. We keep messing around in pool play. We're going to make it very hard on ourselves and end up having a very tough road to get to the gold medal game. We don't want to have to play the hardest teams all up front, and then we really will be in trouble. So we need to get it together. What is we doing? There are way too many good players on our team to have more than one loss. We shouldn't have a loss at all, but to have more than one, terrible.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. So far in the Olympics, only played the one game, have the one loss to France. So tonight, let's get it turned around against Iran. This seems like, and I don't want to jinx it, a good opponent to play for a team that needs to get some momentum back. So
yes, together.
Yeah, let's not jinx it, but this feels like a good opponent to play at the time. My what is you doing? I'm going to stick in basketball. Now I'm going to go with all NBA fans. What is you doing? NBA fans, yes, and we've called them out before on this. NBA fans, I think, are probably the most fickle, and definitely the ones who live in the moment the most. Because we'll get into it. The Bucks won the title. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a great player, phenomenal player. 3 weeks ago, Giannis' style of basketball would never win him a championship, and it was pretty much agreed upon. And Giannis Antetokounmpo was a playoff choker. It was pretty much agreed upon. New information presented itself, and already Antetokounmpo is better than LeBron, Durant, Curry, you name them. He's better than all of them, and it shouldn't be a debate at this point because NBA fans live day to day, and anything that happened before, be damned. It's only what matters right now. So whoever wins this gold medal in the Olympics, whoever the leading scorer is in this gold medal game, congratulations. You'll be going into the NBA season as the number one player in the league. So right now, Luka Doncic
in the world,
pretty good. Yeah, number one player in the world. I mean, NBA fans, it's just so insane. The Devin Booker praise from the start of the playoffs to the Devin Booker slander at the end of the playoffs. Oh, we're so happy for Chris Paul. 2 weeks ago when he won the Western Conference, Chris Paul doesn't deserve a ring if he's going to perform like this at the end of the finals.
Top 10 point guard.
Oh, man, we NBA fans, we can't make up our minds on anything. It's just truly mind-blowing after the fact. And universally, everybody can be happy for Giannis. They can be happy for the Bucks, the franchise, everybody involved. But, I mean, my goodness, we need to just slow down, sort of just eat the information, say, okay, Giannis, he's now a champion. Just being a champion makes you the best player in the world. There's a lot of guys with a lot of championships. We got ahead of ourselves. Digest the championship first. Wait for it. Maybe he'll be the best at some point. But just the minute he won the championship, that's the best player in the world. Man, we change our minds fast as NBA fans. This one goes out to all of us. and to us here on the podcast. I don't want to exclude us. I remember the last time Connor was on about 5 years ago, give or take. Well, during the Nets-Bucks series in the conference semifinals, the Bucks were his "What is you doing?" Nobody in our group celebrated the finals harder than Connor Reed did.
He didn't even watch.
No, games that he told us he wasn't going to watch. So, yeah, NBA fans, we're just we're all over the place. I don't think we should be allowed to give opinions anymore as NBA fans, at least on social media or anywhere that anybody else can see them. Talk in circles, but to make them public, man, just the takes that I've seen.
Well, I'm standing pat on Devin Booker's not the next Kobe, so I will not let that go. That is disgraceful. And I like Devin Booker, but that is a disgrace. And then the performance that he put on after they gave him that praise, even worse. He didn't even live up to the pressure.
There's tough scenes out here.
Yeah.
That's a lot of praise right away. Another NBA fan sort of deal. NBA analysts, talk shows, fans. I mean, can we let the guys turn like 30 before we start discussing legacy and everything?
30? Dude, is Devin Booker even older than us?
Devin Booker, he's not even 25 yet.
Bro, imagine if we started our NBA careers today. We still would have so much left to play. And they're already oh yeah, this guy, a legend. He's being compared to a legend.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all getting ahead of ourselves real big, but this is a good time. The off season, we calm down.
Off season.
Yeah, clean slate. We go into next year. And then as soon as opening day comes around, opening tip, we'll be back to the BS, but it'll be nice to at least have about 2 months in here where we can let the NFL fans take over.
Yeah.
So, or what is she doing?
More logical around here with the NFL.
A little bit.
We still have Adam Thielen deserves to be in the top 5 fans out there. So.
Yeah, don't want to name them by name, but.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll leave it there. I 100% agree with your "what are you doing" though, which leads us into our NBA section, which is the off season now, which is because the Bucks were able to take home the victory after winning 4-2 in the NBA Finals. Of course, Giannis winning Finals MVP after an insane performance all series long, and was able to cap it off with a 50-point, 14-rebound game, literally dropping half 100 points to close out the Suns. Obviously not the game the Suns had in mind, as our boy, not Kobe Bryant, but Toby Bryant, a.k.a. Devin Booker over here, 0 for 7. Obi Bryant over here, 0 for 7 from 3. Had a measly 19 points on 8 of 22 shooting. Obviously, there was more into the game just in the box score, but just not his game. Chris Paul, did what he could. He dropped 26 on 11 of 19 shooting, but still wasn't his best day. And overall, just the Suns I think after they blew that lead in Game 4, it was over. They had a 16-point lead in Game 4, had a chance to go up 3-1. No one almost never comes back from a 3-1 deficit, and they let it slip away after being up by 16 in the second half. And I don't think anything else went right for them in that series. They lost that game, lost on their home court in Game 5, and we saw what Giannis and company did to them in Game 6. So not how the Suns would have imagined their series ending after going up 2-1 and looked like had a great chance to go up 3-1. But overall, I still say that was a solid series. It was a lot of fun, very entertaining to watch. It was something new. That's what I enjoyed about it. Others who have been on this podcast before complain that the NBA just sees the same people every year. I have no issue in it because it's exciting to me. But I will say this series was kind of fun and exciting because it was new. some new faces in there, guys who have never won anything before. So you finally get to see their first taste at a championship, although it was injury-ridden, but we'll give them their props. They went out there and won it, so you got to give them credit where credit is due. So that made it exciting. I still wish for next season that we get some big names in there. Or maybe, obviously Giannis is a big name. If he can carry them to back-to-back, that'll raise some eyebrows. So if you can get them back to the finals, that'll be something. As same goes for the Suns. If they can bring this Suns team back, because the West is coming. Klay Thompson's coming back. AD's coming back. I don't know what they're going to do up in Portland, but they're trying to build something up there. The Clippers aren't going anywhere. The West is still going to be a beast. So if the Suns can redo this, they will get a lot of props in my book. So I'll be pretty impressed with them. I've talked enough. I'll let you kind of take your takeaways from this series. As you know, obviously neither one of us ever imagined that this matchup would have happened.
Definitely not at all what we expected when the playoffs started. Really not even what we expected once we got to conference semifinals. As you know, we started writing off the Bucks early. The Suns, the Suns kind of played their way here, so we expected a little bit more from them. But after they got the Clippers down 2-0, just where the Clippers like them, I was starting to get nervous. But yeah, like you said, this was a very fun finals. I love seeing fresh faces, new guys, and whoever won, you were going to feel good for them because this was going to be pretty much all of these guys' first times winning the big one. And these are guys who all deserve it. They've all put in work. Chris Paul, he's been in the league for pretty much our whole lives, just damn near. And he's been fighting. He's suffered so many playoff defeats that are just egregious. And I'm not saying that he's not to blame for them, but we obviously all would have loved to see him win. Giannis, he's suffered some very egregious playoff defeats as well. So you're very happy for them. And you talked about injuries, and obviously that's a storyline that is a little bit difficult to ignore. But I also don't think it takes anything away from this championship that the Bucks have won. I think the way the Bucks did it, they kept Middleton, they kept Giannis. Instead of blowing it up when they faced setbacks, they just added pieces. I think a lot of people saw the Bledsoe for Drew Holiday move, and they said, how much is that actually going to do in the long run? Drew Holiday was outstanding in the finals. The defensive player of the year was on the court for the Bucks, and Drew Holiday was the best defensive player on the floor for what he was able to do to Chris Paul, what he was able to do to disrupt the Suns before they even got into offense. So Drew Holiday, huge props to him, because I think a lot of people questioned that move a little bit in the offseason. They said, this won't affect anything really. PJ Tucker came in. He's a journeyman. He was great defensively. Always has the best shoes on the court.
Shout out happy for taking easily the best celebration picture of this year's finals. That picture with him with the champagne, so dope. That is a legendary picture.
Yeah, and all those guys on the Bucks. I'm so happy for them. They deserved it. Going back to this next season, and whether we think these two teams will be back, whether they have a chance, I am probably in the minority. I think the Suns actually have a better chance to go through the West if everything stays healthy, because I think the best team in the NBA, unfortunately, resides in Brooklyn. And I'm very nervous about if those guys stay healthy. So if the Bucks go back, I think you can put any injury talk to bed completely if the Nets stay healthy for this next season. Because, man, that team in Brooklyn, they had Kevin Durant out there playing with another superstar on one leg, and he had himself a near 50-point closeout game too. I think it would have been a 50-point game had he not had his toe on the line.
Yep.
But and it would have sent the Nets through. But yeah, I might be in the minority though. But I could see the Suns getting back. I think the Bucks are actually going to have the tougher time. And the good news for the Suns too is that their team outside of Chris Paul, very young, whereas the Bucks, their superstar is very young. But you look at Middleton, you look at Tucker, you look at Holiday, all those guys a little bit older. a little bit more game action than they've been used to at any point in their careers. I'm very excited for next year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Having a champion like the Bucks to run it back is going to be a lot different because usually you're cheering against the Warriors or the Lakers because they win it all the time. LeBron wins it all the time. Curry wins it all the time. It's going to be interesting because especially with our NBA fans, are they going to start cheering against Giannis if he becomes a super regular like these other guys? We'll see.
Yeah. I do have to disagree with you, though, just solely on the fact that these guys on the Nets have not showed a history of being able to stay healthy. They don't do it. And while they are an incredible team when they're all on the floor, I think we saw Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant together this entire season less than 20 times. Or if it was over 20, it was no more than 30. These dudes cannot stay on the court, whether it's Kyrie just not actually wanting to be on the court or whether he physically cannot be on the court. And I was one of those people. Now, I said I didn't know how they would work together. They ended up gelling. The games that they played together, they gelled fine. You know, they played really well and looked the part. But I have to see it to believe it. These dudes cannot stay healthy. They cannot. And ironically enough, it was Kevin Durant that was the one staying healthy. Because he's always beat up. It's usually James Harden's usually pretty healthy, and he's doing all right. It was the other guys. It was Kyrie and James Harden this time, not staying healthy. So I don't know. I mean, can they do it? Of course. Just we have not seen that. There is nothing over the course of time. I don't think that we can see that. Oh yeah, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie all healthy at the same time during the playoffs. And in the end, I still think there's still some dark horse out there. The Celtics still seem to be reckoned with. Atlanta, I don't think is going anywhere. I like what I saw out of them. So I think Atlanta's still a thing. Toronto can't be that bad next year. My God. Neither can the Heat, I don't think. I don't think either one of those teams can be as bad as they are. So I don't know. And I think the West gets a little healthier. The West is going to be an all-out beast again. So I don't know. It may be an entirely different team than the Lakers and the Suns. It could be, someone new every year. Maybe the Clippers break through. Obviously, that would suck for me, but maybe they finally – the Suns did it. They broke through. So I don't know. I think it might – I think a new team could emerge.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And it's important to remember, too, that the teams we're talking about right now are not going to look the same at the time of the season start next year.
On off season.
So, we're trying to predict all this, just knowing what we know now. We still have a draft in 2 days. So teams will get better. Yeah. Some basically just because they're going to add another player that'll replace the ones they have. The Pistons will get better. All those teams in the top 5 will get better. And some teams, they'll make big trades. We don't know who's going where. I think the Raptors, they talked about blowing it up, sending a lot of guys to LA. I'm very excited. The NBA draft, more so than even just the players getting drafted, the amount of things in the NBA that go on draft night, the deals that are made as picks are being made, then announced the following day, even just the lead up to the draft, it's always super exciting because a sport that doesn't have nearly as many players in their league as a lot of other sports, there's a lot more movement of those players, and they all seem to mean something. All the moves that they make, it's never like trading prospects in hockey. It's always like the trade we just saw with Valanciunas going to New Orleans, and New Orleans sending the 10th overall pick of point guard and their center Steven Adams back to Memphis. That always trades that round pick.
And they've already announced, just diving in, because that was our next topic, was to kind of talk about that trade. Going into that, they've already announced that Eric Bledsoe will not be a member of the Grizzlies. They traded him just to use him as a trade bait. So that's a trade within a trade already. And we haven't even got to the draft yet.
Yeah. And it's a phenomenal move by the Grizzlies, as Eric Bledsoe, a former member of the Suns and Bucks. So the Grizzlies, by moving on from Bledsoe, perhaps just book themselves a spot in the finals in the near future.
I don't know. They got some work to do before they get there. They did. Hey, they got to the postseason action though. I got to give them credit for that.
They won a postseason game.
Yeah, didn't last much after that, but they did win one. They beat the Warriors when I didn't think they would. I couldn't believe that. I thought the Warriors would take it home, but yeah. Some more off-season news too, as our coaching carousel is going on. It's starting to wind down a little bit. The Mavericks have hired the Magic have hired former Maverick assistant Jamal Mosley to be their head coach. The Wizards made a big news splash as they hired Denver Nuggets Wes Unseld Jr. take the spot, and then the Pelicans are hiring the same assistant Willie Green to their head coach. A lot of assistants starting to get their shot. Not so many bigger names coming out of retirement or out of the broadcast booth. It's a lot of assistants. A lot of these younger guys have been waiting their turn to get in their chance. So I kind of like it for the NBA. I mean, you see that happen in pretty much every other sport. The assistant gets promoted. In the NBA, it's kind of like, oh, well, you used to coach several years ago. You seem like you've gotten older, more bitter, more angrier. You want to be our head coach? So it's kind of nice to see these assistants getting a shot.
Absolutely. Yeah, fresh faces all around the league. I saw a stat, this is pretty important for the social justice movement as well. Of the 8 new head coaching hires in the league, 7 of them were young black men, which is a huge step in the right direction, I think, especially for a league that's majority black for players. You want coaches that can relate to you. You want guys who have been there, done that, played in the NBA, know the game, and that you can really relate to on a personal level. I mean, even if you watch the Last Dance documentary, there's a lot of guys talk about, coaches that sometimes they didn't get along with the greatest. And, you think about what could have been had we liked, people in the organization more, not our team, not just our teammates, but everybody in the organization, because that's what really makes it go. So a hiring of these guys, I think, is truly phenomenal. Instead of recycling the same coaches who have been there, done that, they've got relationships with everybody. Nobody's special to them. They've been in it for so long. This is really cool stuff, and I think a lot of these head coaches are going to do a really good job because they're given the opportunity, an opportunity that in the past they haven't had quite as much. So yeah. I'm a big fan of really all the hires. I don't see one. I didn't really see a hire in this coaching carousel cycle where I looked at it and I was like, I don't think that'll work for him at all. Now our friend Connor, he doesn't like Indiana's, and Indiana kind of went with the more traditional route.
Man,
but they hired the only one.
Yeah, the most proven guy.
Yeah, they went out and got the most proven guy. I don't think there was a bad head coach signing in this coaching carousel. Now, some of these guys are gonna have their work cut out for them. I'll tell you that. These head coaches coming in. Willie Green's hired. He coaches in the finals. 2 weeks later, you're shipping out the starting center and a point guard from your team and your 10th overall pick. Just as he walks in the door, the Magic, they're the Orlando Magic, so good luck to Jamal Mosley. And then Wes Unseld Jr. I mean, he goes into actually a pretty decent spot if the Wizards don't trade Bradley Beal, which it looks like they might be leaning towards this offseason. Yep, and then it's up to him to build the relationship with his one star remaining, Russell Westbrook, which is definitely a journey. But for all of these guys, getting this opportunity, I think it'll be great for the league, great for them. And the NBA, it's a tough business. They don't wait too long before you're out of there. If they don't see results right away, you're out of there. But, I'm sure these guys will be up for the challenge, and I'm sure they'll land on their feet wherever they end up. So very happy for Mosley, Unseld, and Green.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of what's going on. And I like the direction. The NBA has always shown that they're really good at adapting. And I think they're taking a great step in the right direction. So I'm never too worried about the direction of where they're headed, really. I like what they're doing. I like the changes they've made to the postseason. I thought overall, I know players weren't happy about when the season started, but in the end, they completed the season. There were a lot of injuries, but, there's injuries every season, even when we have a full off season. So, I think the NBA did what they could. They made the money that they wanted. They got the season that the players wanted, even got an all-star break in there. In the end, I think you have to be pretty happy for how the NBA wrapped up. And it's been fun covering the whole entire season, as now we kind of get into the off season, so it'll be less and less to really into until we tip off next season. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun covering them throughout the entire season. But we have to say goodbye to the NBA for now. Of course, the draft is still here, and there'll be mega trades. So the NBA is not dead, but they're going a little silent, which is sad. But that's what happens around this time. But all that means to me is it's going to be NFL season real soon, and we'll get to that. And again, stay tuned for us. This episode will be dropping, but we have another all NFL special coming up later on this week, a show dedicated solely to the NFL. So look out for that as well. We'll be promoting that on our social media pages. So stay tuned, as we'll get you all ready to go for the NFL. But we do have to wrap up the NHL, moving over from the NBA now, as of course it was the Tampa Bay Lightning defeating the Montreal Canadiens by way of 4-1, winning it in just 5 games. A truly dominant performance overall. The last game was kind of a bit of a dud, as the Lightning won just 1-0. But it was all they needed, was that one goal to end up bringing it home. And a major shout out to them, winning back-to-back. They were a team that was so close so many years in a row, couldn't get over the hump, and now they're back-to-back champions. So you got to give them all the credit to their front office, credit to the coaching staff and the players. Big shout out to them. But for me, that's not even the most exciting news I have to bring as far as the NHL. The Seattle Kraken, they are ready to get it cracking, as they are finally underway. It is not a rumor anymore. They are here, and they are ready to go, as they have had their expansion draft picks made. We have seen a little highlight into what their jerseys will look like. Their white away jerseys look insane. About broke Twitter for a day. Really, really cool. I'm excited for the Kraken. We have deemed their fans to be the crackheads. Don't care what anybody else says. They're fans of the crackheads. I'm happy for the Kraken. In terms of our friend group, there's been a little bit of a trade here, as Monte has sent his goalie. Yes, Monte himself. Look over and talk to the front office of the Knights. He sent his goalie, Marc-Andre Fleury, to Connor and the Chicago Blackhawks as part of a salary dump. Didn't even really want anything back for him. Just wanted to get him out of there. They did end up, I believe, getting didn't they get a prospect out of the deal? I believe.
I'm not sure if they got any return whatsoever.
I saw that they got like a super young prospect in the turn, but they basically just wanted to salary dump their former goalie onto Chicago. But yeah, that's the main news I've been excited about as far as NHL is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, in our last show, we pretty much said the Lightning, we already crowned them as they went up 3-1. We pretty much already crowned the Lightning, so again, congrats to them. No surprise, as the Lightning won it all. They were probably the most skilled team outside of maybe Colorado, but obviously a huge congrats. The Seattle Kraken are going to be fun to watch. They're going to be exciting. Result-wise, I don't know. They had their expansion draft. Some of the highlights, they actually took one team's captain. The Calgary Flames left Mark Giordano exposed.
That's so disrespectful.
So the Kraken just said, we'll take your captain, put him over here. From the world champion Lightning, they got Yanni Gourde, And they got a really talented winger, Jonas Donskoy from the Avalanche. That was the 3 highlights that I saw from that. And yeah, off season in the NHL, usually a little bit quieter than NBA, but they really hit the ground running here, especially with our teams. Your team's made a few good moves for a couple of wingers. Alexander Ovechkin signed a 5-year deal because he's trying to break that all-time goal-scoring record. So Alexander Ovechkin, who is now gray in the hair, has signed to play 5 more years. Just the show goes on in Washington. And yeah, and then my favorite news from the NHL was the NHL draft, where 4 of the top 5 picks were Michigan players. And you don't usually see college hockey dominating that much. You usually see the Canadian leagues, the Russian leagues, all of that for the amateur draft. But it was the Michigan Wolverines, the maize and blue, dominating this year. Very cool to see. The Seattle Kraken's first ever draft pick, a Michigan man. Might have to cop myself a jersey. Might have to make a bet with Monte on the Kraken and Knights first game, see if Monte can't buy me one now that he's got that new job. But we'll see. Yeah, but the Kraken, they've come. All the Michigan guys in the NHL now. 5 more years of OV. Good stuff in the NHL. Really good stuff.
Yeah. Monte
not so much for my team, but
Monte needs to find a new goalie. I know the Knights kind of trade off that because they have 2 goalies, but they need another goalie now if they're going to run with the 2 goalie system.
Yeah, or this other guy's going to have to be a lot better than he was in the postseason games he played in. Or don't. I mean, I don't care that much. If the Knights choose to suck, that's fine by me as well.
Yeah, I'm not
the only team
over it.
Yeah, they're the only team that didn't have to protect somebody for the expansion draft. And their best player, statistically, still left the team. So, yeah, can't beat that as a Sharks fan, as our team's done nothing really to get better. That's okay.
The Rangers are out here trying. We got rid of our coach, made some big signings. We're trying.
Yeah, things are looking up for New York.
Can't be mad.
Yeah, at least stuff's going on with your guys' teams. So,
yeah. Well, what's also going on is our MLB teams are in full midseason form now. We've had our All-Star break. That was a lot of fun. The Home Run Derby was really cool. Big shout out to Pete Alonso and his monstrous performance. Also shout out to right here, Casey's own Salvador Perez, hitting the most ever by a catcher. Second most in the entire thing. Just unfortunately got paired up with the guy who tried to just go off. So we had to mention that. That was insane. Not even fair. That Pete Alonso, they need to do an overall score, I think, cool with the matchups. That was ridiculous. That he almost hit 30 and got bounced. But it was really cool. We got to see guys go off. They get to duel over in overtime. That was pretty cool. So that was fun. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I think the Home Run Derby, next year, they should let not Pete Alonso do it or Vlad Jr. And they should just have those guys put on a show right before the actual Home Run Derby. And then they should do the Home Run Derby so somebody else has a chance to win.
Yeah, and then let someone else. But so, all right, so to bring it full circle now, we'll kind of give you a brief update where our teams are at. The Royals aren't in last place anymore since last time we've talked, so they're doing that. Currently in the midst of a 6-game winning streak. So that's something to celebrate about as far as the Royals are concerned. That's the only thing. I say we're in a 6-game winning streak, although we lost tonight as we started this show. So we had a 6-game winning streak going, which is why we're not currently in last place. Only that belongs to the Minnesota Twins. My Yankees finally got a dub, getting a dub over your Rays over here, but still it remains Boston in first, Rays second, Yankees third in the American East. The White Sox are hanging on real tight to their first place lead. They're extending it now. They're well ahead of the Cleveland Guardians now. Used to be Indians. They are the Guardians now. Almost caught me there. As we'll get into a little bit more of that. Houston remains in first place in the NL West, holding the lead over the Oakland Athletics. In the national side, and the East, you have the Mets up 3.5 games on the Philadelphia Phillies. In the Central, we have the Brewers up, and they have extended their lead. The last time I think we talked, the Cubs were in a much better spot. They are so far gone now. The Cardinals are ahead of them, which is just awful. I remember Connor the last time he was on saying that the Cincinnati Reds would fall off. They have not fell off in any way, shape, or form. They are now in second place in their division, so watch out for the Reds. And then the Giants still are in first place somehow, some way in the NL West, followed by the Dodgers, followed by the San Diego Padres. So a lot of this is gonna be some fun races because the Reds aren't too far behind the Padres for that last spot in the playoffs. And then they have the Philadelphia Phillies are at 500 right now, so they're kind of a long ways off. But there's still a nice little race to be had for who makes the final wild card spot in the postseason. So lots of baseball still to be played. My Yankees are it's not looking good, but there's, like I said, lots of time left. They're actually only 3 games back now out of the playoffs. So they were at one point, they got up to like 7 or 8. They're down to just 3. Somehow Seattle is ahead of them. Can't believe that, but whatever.
Seattle's kind of nice this year.
Yeah, you got to give it to them. They're trying.
You just don't hear about them because all their games start at 10 o'clock here. They're up in the mysterious U.S. Northwest.
Yeah.
But, yep, I'd say besides, obviously, the Royals, all of our teams have a chance, which is all you could ask for at this point in the season. We are 100 games in, which sounds like a lot until you factor in that you have 62 left. So there's still a lot of games.
Hey, the Royals only 12 games out of the playoffs. 12 games.
Yeah, see, the Yankees are at this point last year, we're 40 games past where we stopped. So people forget that a lot can change in these last few months of the season. Because last year the season only was a few months. So think about the wackiness of that year, how much can happen. You know, they said you want to be 500 by the All-Star break to give yourself a chance. And for all 4 of our teams, outside of our one united team, the Royals, we are at 500. So we've given ourselves a chance. And that's all you could ask for in these long dog days of baseball season.
Yes, sir. And you know, some people have been asking for this for quite a long time, and their wish has been granted. The Cleveland Indians are now no longer, after this season, they will be now changing their name, changing their brand over to the Cleveland Guardians, paying homage to the city. If you've ever been to Cleveland, there's a large bridge that takes you straight into the city. It is stand guarded by Guardians. There's a couple statues that stand at the front of the bridge as you enter into the city. So, like it, hate it. What are your overall thoughts on the Guardians?
I've definitely warmed up to it, I believe. I first heard it and I said, why not go with the Spiders? Comedically, I said, why not go with the Steamers? That would have been hilarious. But yeah, I mean, to settle on something Cleveland, especially in a city like Cleveland, that to everybody around it feels like it has nothing going for it, has nothing going on. You remember Joakim Noah's rants about Cleveland? For a city that probably needs some more spirit, I think the Guardians is a fine name, personally. You know, it does kind of have that AFL feel. I think an XFL team, if I'm not mistaken, the New York Guardians were a thing. So it kind of has that like XFL,
that
AFL
was my
feel.
team when we all chose a team. I was a New York Guardians.
Yeah, he was the Guardians because Joe Horn Jr. was on that one. But yeah, I think the more we say it, obviously, the more we'll get used to it. The Indians obviously had to change. So props to them for changing. I like they went with something specific to the city. So it'll definitely grow on me. I'm just going to have to say it a lot. And I think for the most part, if you don't like it, just call them Cleveland. I don't get the super intense outrage about the name change, but just call them Cleveland if you don't like it so much.
Yeah, I mean, Guardians was fine by me, by all accounts. I think it's a decent name. It does kind of have that AFL feel to it. It's like a safe name, not too way out there, but it's also not too basic. It's a safe name, and honestly, when you're rebranding, that's all you can really ask for.
Exactly. It's better than Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real here.
I mean, we got a team out here that's literally called the Pelicans, and we say this willingly and say it like it's normal, and it's fine thrown on us. So I think that you can do much worse than Guardians.
Yeah, it's important to have pride. Pelicans, state bird of Louisiana. Have some pride in where you're from. I'm fine with it. I think if they called us the Kansas City Brisket, I don't know if people would like that as much.
Barbecue.
But the Kansas City BBQs.
Kansas City Cookouts.
Kansas City Prime Rib.
Yeah.
So given what other cities, what other states might have to name their teams, Guardians definitely not the worst option they could have
gone with. The logo was actually kind of cool.
I did like the logo.
I'm a fan of the G with the wings.
Yes, yeah, the logo is cool. What they're probably going to do is they're probably going to take that statue, turn that into something really cool logo-wise too. I mean, it's a complete rebrand, so all we know right now is the name, but there's a lot that you can do with that. I mean, you could even change the colors. You could go silver and black or something like that. You could change everything about it.
Yeah, just go all the way. I'm about it. Just if you're going to change it, don't keep it. I know there've been a lot of red and blue, but I kind of like it. If they change the colors, it'll give a whole new meaning to it. It's like if you just got a brand new team.
Yeah.
I think that'd be
cool. I have no problem with a complete rebrand at all.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll just have to get used to seeing it and saying it.
Yeah.
It'll be just
Cleveland
just fine.
Just fine. It's a lot better than Washington football team.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the saddest part about that. Not to go on, we're going to end this section here in a second. Not to go on a tangent. But that's the saddest part is your name. You had such a terrible name for so long. Rather than rename it something else, they'd rather have no name. Like that's what's glaring to me in the whole Washington situation. They'd rather have no name than to not have a name that offends some people. So,
yeah, that's
so on that level. Shout out to Cleveland for getting a name like that. To me, that still is just wrong. But whatever. We'll continue to make jokes about the no names.
They are rebranding I think it's after this year. They're going to do a rebrand. So
good.
We'll see what they come up with. Maybe some
Defenders and call it a day. The DC Defenders. Come on.
Every rebrand is just going to take an XFL team name, slap it on there, make it their own.
They're there for a reason, for us to for major league teams to steal.
Until The Rock brings it back.
Yeah, and then The Rock's like, he's going to come up with some wild names. The biceps, the quadriceps. He started naming them after things that he holds dear to his heart. That's just getting some chest sets in there.
It's just going to be every tendon in the body, just in a different state. There's going to be a team in Minnesota.
It's going to be what your name is.
It'll be the Traps because it's all the way up north.
The North Traps.
We might just do something.
The North Traps, the South Cavs. Oh no, we'll quit naming parts of The Rock's body now.
Yeah, as much as you would have liked us to continue it, audience, we'll stop. We've got other stuff to get to.
Yeah, we got some other things, but we will talk about a sport that The Rock did used to play, and the league used to play in, which was the NFL. Again, before we get into the segment, we will have a full-on NFL show later on this week. Stay tuned for that. I'm going to keep saying I'm going to promote it at least 5 more times before we end this show. Probably not 5, but at least another time. Stay tuned for that, as we will full-on. What we'll be doing on that episode is we'll be highlighting our top 10 at different positions, stuff that we didn't get to do a couple weeks ago. We'll be talking about the Madden ratings and just all other things coming up as we're now in the training camp. Aaron Rodgers is back. We'll be getting into all of that stuff, but we will mention some of this here as well as we dive in. Obviously, a lot of stuff that we have missed. We will start by talking about some of the off-the-field news, stuff we never really want to talk about, but unfortunately we have to. Our very own right here in Kansas City, Chiefs defensive end Frank Clark facing felony charges after he was caught with a weapon possession stemming from an incident a couple weeks ago. Obviously, you cannot own a mini Uzi and have it just flaring out in your back seat. What you were doing there is, I don't know. I did hear they were talking about jail time, but I feel like these players never actually see jail time. But I think he has been charged with that. It's multiple felonies with jail time. So, just to show you how serious these crimes are. An assault weapon? Come on now. Not a good thing here. Of course, this took all over the news a couple weeks ago with, I almost said former, he's still in the NFL, just a current free agent. Cornerback Richard Sherman was booked on 2 counts of domestic violence, criminal trespassing, malicious mischief, resisting arrest, driving under influence, and reckless endangerment of roadway workers. There's a whole slew of things there involving Richard Sherman. Obviously, was caught banging on his in-law's door, trying to speak to his wife and children. Obviously, it looks to be intoxicated. And, obviously one of the lowest points of his life, talking very low on himself. Possibly suicidal threats were made, is what some of the reports were said. So obviously not in his right state of mind. We really just reach out to him and his family. Prayers be with him, and hopefully he can get the help that he needs. Will we ever see him on the NFL field again? Who knows? I think he has definitely the talent to do so, but of course we want his mind to be there as well. So thankfully no one was really injured in this. And big shout out to the strength and the patience that the in-laws had with him. Him beating on the door, trying to get in, and all the stuff he was saying and yelling. So, major shout out to them. I don't want that to get lost in there, as they showed great strength, including his wife, saying that, that's not the man I married, that there's far more good in him than, what was on display there. And it kind of sucks. It was caught on camera. So, once it kind of hit the mainstream media, it was all over the place. So obviously showing Richard Sherman not in his greatest light, but hopefully he can get the help he needs. I believe he's already in some type of counseling. So, just 2 weeks removed, and he's already hopefully getting some of the help he needs. So we'll keep you updated with that as well. And then it does not stop there for the offseason, as various players, including DeAndre Hopkins, coming out originally saying that he could retire on this issue. A since then deleted tweet. I believe he will not retire from this, but a lot of players are at odds over the new rules regarding the COVID rescheduling and vaccination rules that will be going in place. Obviously, the NFL now is cracking down on players who are not going to be vaccinated or choosing not to be vaccinated, as if they indeed are testing positive for COVID or in any way, shape, or form affect the NFL schedule. Major sanctions will come down onto the player as well as the team. There were the possibility of forfeiting games was thrown out onto the table, in addition to forfeiting game checks, as well as being fined an undisclosed amount of money. So obviously some serious sanctions being brought down for any players who are caught breaking COVID protocols, who are unvaccinated. Really making it a huge incentive 4 players to get vaccinated. I did see a stat too, which is pretty encouraging. I think 90% of the entire I think it was at least 90% of every NFL team, staff and players, have been vaccinated, and I think overall it was like 83% of the entire league has at least one COVID vaccination shot. So, we're talking, about 10% of guys per team. Overall, less than 20% of the entire league, doesn't have at least one vaccination shot. So, I mean, it kind of seems like overall the players are in unison, but, I mean, they're, and not to, throw any shade at all to any of the players who are not vaccinated, that's their personal choice. But it is at least good to see, if the players are going to be all on one side, that they're at least they're close to being on one side, where if it's half the league is vaccinated, half is not. So, if 83% didn't want to be vaccinated, that's their choice. 83% are right now. So, it's at least good to see that they're at least somewhat unified. I don't know if you had anything on any of those off-season topics, but just to kind of bring those to light that's what we've missed over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, just important to know, NFL players are not scientists. So you probably have seen tweets out there from Cole Beasley, DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Ramsey that have talked about the vaccination and why they wouldn't be getting them, and how those guys wouldn't feel any type of way if their teammates didn't get vaccinated and all that because they're nervous about getting it. They're not scientists. Nobody in the NFL is. Guys are going to do what they want to do. They're grown men. If Cole Beasley happens to keep the Bills out of the playoffs because he doesn't get vaccinated and he infects the team, then that's on him. Us down here in Kansas City, we're doing a great job with it. The Chiefs are. The city, we can do better. But the Chiefs are doing a great job with it. It's a choice these guys are going to make. They're going to risk it. And if the unvaccinated players cost their team a game, can't nobody feel sorry for them. You kind of would have felt bad last year if a team had to forfeit, but this year, since we have preventative measures and you can take those, and now it's going to hurt your team, and that, and you don't get vaccinated, that's just a personal opinion for you. I wouldn't have an opinion on the guy one way or another. As you know, DeAndre Hopkins, my favorite receiver in football. Just interesting comments, because I'm very far on the other side that people should be vaccinated, so just differing of opinions, kind of interesting. Just an interesting 24 hours there when the NFL brought that news down, and guys were so anti the vaccination. Just, oh well, I guess we'll see. If that ever comes up. You hope it doesn't, but
yeah. Well, I think a good thing too is the NFL is getting out the way now with the rules, because I think it was a really obviously my team, the Titans, bent the rules to as much as they could last year, which led them to not really be punished, as a lot of people were crying for them to be. But they technically had not broken a rule that was publicly stated by the NFL just yet, so they kind of bent the rules. So yeah, look, hey, they said you can't be out and about. What did my team decide to do? We went and held a practice together on a high school football field. So I don't know. But that wasn't specifically said, which is why they weren't punished. We are getting that out of the way now. So everyone knows exactly what can and cannot be done. So if anything happens, any breakout happens during the season, we kind of know what's going on. And, so props to the NFL for getting kind of that out of the way. For some on-the-field news, we had Ted Ginn actually calling it a quits. He retires after 14 years in the league. Played for a number of different teams. Very illustrious career. I think he, did his part, was a very good player. Always a key component to every team he was on. So shout out to him. Tom Brady. My goodness. This man, in addition to being 43 years old now, or going to be 43, this man played an entire season last year with a torn MCL. Of course, that is the ligament that you can't play on if it is torn. But the fact that he went the whole season with this being unknown, and props to anybody who he told for this not to get out at all either. You know, because some players could use that, you know, to their advantage if they know he has a bum knee. So shout out to their entire training staff, Tom Brady himself, keeping this under wraps, and then the toughness to play through a torn MCL. It's insane.
And to be fair, if it in fact was a torn MCL, Tom Brady can really sell that he doesn't have a bum knee really well because of the rest of his career, where he didn't have to use his knees all that much either. Anyway, wasn't very mobile to start with, so could very easily sell it. Nobody would have known the difference.
Not at all.
He's been setting that up.
Another quarterback with some major shocking news. Aaron Rodgers has returned. He will be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers this upcoming season. Has to suck if you're Jordan Love. But you will have, but Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback up in Green Bay. He is reporting to camp. The Packers have signed their former receiver in Randall Cobb, so old friend alert there for Green Bay. As not only will Devontae Adams now be talking about renegotiating his contract, which I still don't understand that one because Aaron Rodgers still plans on leaving after this upcoming season. So why he is now willing to accept contract negotiations because Aaron Rodgers is back is beyond me. Maybe he thinks he can convince Rodgers to stay longer, but we'll see how that plays out. But he'll at least have two friendly guys out there in the wide out for Aaron Rodgers as he now has decided to come back. Instantly jumping, it literally cut their chances of making the Super Bowl in half, or a double. That's what it is. It doubled their Super Bowl chances. They were plus 28 to make a Super Bowl run. They're now plus 1,400. Not even 2 minutes after Aaron Rodgers announced that he was coming back. So that just shows you what the impact that he has on the league. They're already various people are now putting the Packers in their top 5 for preseason power rankings just one day after him announcing that he'll be joining the team again. So obviously when you have the MVP deciding to come back to play, which I can't believe I ever have to say those words, but here we are. The MVP is coming back, and he obviously is putting his team on notice, or putting the league on notice that he is back for another season. And I mean, outside of the Bucs, I mean, I don't think anybody else is really a threat in the NFC. So you'd have to see the Packers as being one of those top tier teams for sure, coming back with a receiver just got a 99 overall rating in Madden, and the MVP of the league. So you have to be happy if you're a Green Bay fan. If you're a Houston Texans fan, it just does not get any better for you. I'm sorry. Deshaun Watson has returned. He has returned to practice, but that was solely to avoid a $50,000 fine every day that he does not show up to practice. He still is intending to be traded, and the Texans actually have now said that they are fine with trading him. They have just recently put out their shopping list, I'd say. Yeah, so they put out their shopping list. They said they want 5 super high draft picks. We'll see about that. I mean, in the end, I guess the Texans technically do hold all the leverage, but I don't think anybody's given 5 high draft picks for Deshaun Watson, as great as he is, given what he's going through right now currently with all the drama. So I don't know if anyone's giving up 5 draft picks for a guy who could still end up being suspended for all we know, and or kicked out of the league for what the crimes he's being accused of. So who knows? So the Texans are opening the door for Deshaun Watson to get out, but it's kind of unrealistic at the moment.
Agreed. Yeah, very weird situation in Houston.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy who's just signed there. So this team would take on massive contract, all the allegations, and have to give up all their draft capital going forward. So very risky move.
Yeah, that would be extremely risky. The Cowboys have signed former Saints safety Malik Hooker. They need that badly. So the Cowboys, they have incredible secondary help. And the Dolphins, the last thing we want to end on before we move on, may need some secondary help now, as right before we got going with this podcast, they're all for a cornerback, a guy that was all in our top fives for our list for top cornerbacks going into the season, has officially requested a trade via a long rant on Instagram, saying that he just does not agree with the direction that the team is going and wants to be out of Miami. So Miami is losing their top defensive player. It sounds like, at least he wants to get out of there. Will they honor that? I don't know if they'll grant it or not, but it's been brewing for a while, but then it sounded like he was just going to tough it out and play through the contract. Now he wants to be out of there. So no bueno in Miami.
Not at all. And, Jerry Jones is down there licking his chops right now. Xavier Howard, earlier in the week, he liked to Photoshop in a Cowboys jersey. So,
how do they have money? Isn't that the whole point of them getting rid of Byron Jones, who plays for the Dolphins, a top cornerback already? They had to get rid of him because they have no money.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. I don't know who's going to make the move. Obviously, every team in the NFL really could use another good cornerback. That's a position that you could always get better at.
Flag is fine.
Yeah, your teams could definitely use better cornerbacks. But yeah, the
Titans have no money, so that's why I'm saying go Eagles. They ain't making no move for him.
Yeah, it'll be an all-out race for Howard. You'd have to figure the guy's young, he's playing the best ball of his career, and he wants out.
Yeah,
and he's been very, to my understanding, he's been very professional about all of this. He said he's still going to show up. He's going to handle himself like a professional. So this is, I think, for as mad as Connor gets at the way guys handle moves and all the sports, this is the way you want to see it handled. Request the trade. He makes it public himself. He doesn't wait for the GMs to go and talk to every other GM. He puts it out there himself. He says, you know what, I'm still going to be professional about this. I'm going to go about my work. I'm going to get better. And he's going to be a great asset wherever he ends up. Even if he stays in Miami, he'll obviously be the best player on that team again. So,
yeah.
I'm not worried about him at all.
And we'll get more on this. We'll talk more about this in a little bit more depth on our NFL episode, which is coming up later this week. Tune in. We'll get into that. On the other side, for football, some stuff we did not get to cover a couple of weeks ago. Of course, not going to do a full breakdown, but Italy was able to take down England in penalty shootouts after just one of the most insane shootouts I think I've ever seen. Nothing but a bunch of young guys for England, and they did not get it done, unfortunately. I don't even really want to talk about that because it actually made me kind of upset. And I'm not even an England fan. That was insane. But Italy, nonetheless, takes it home. After they didn't even qualify for the World Cup 4 years ago, here they are. And they are European champions. And then my guy, to cap it off, my boy Messi, finally gets a major international trophy, winning Copa America after taking down Brazil, took down the top team to do it. The team everyone was picking, Argentina, able to get it done. Messi easily was the Copa America player of the tournament after sharing the lead in goals. By far had the most assists. And big shout out to him and Argentina finally getting some sense of success because, man, boy, they needed it. As many titles and finals that they've made to, and just haven't been able to get it done. So big shout out to them. It has been said that Messi's picture that he posted on Instagram with the trophy is the most liked picture of all time, which is pretty insane. So him with the trophy is the most liked picture on Instagram of all time. So major shout out to him. It just speaks to the magnitude of how desperate this man was in need of that. And I'm very happy for him. Club play has been very disastrous for him the last couple of years. So I'm glad he's got something to hang his hat on as far as international trophy goes. As far as here in the United States, our team is currently in the middle of the Gold Cup. We are in the semifinals, and we have a date with Qatar, as the winner of that will play Canada or Mexico. So Qatar is standing in our way currently. That game coming up on Thursday. So definitely tune into that as well. Root on the USA, as we are right in the thick of things to win our own trophy, which would be a major step for us given where we were just 3 years ago, when we didn't qualify for the last World Cup. So
Yeah. And we're doing this with the B team right now too.
yeah, we don't have our major guns out there just yet.
Yeah. So this would be huge if they want. If who you'd expect is the A team. If they won the Nations League, then the B team wins the Gold Cup. I mean, things are looking way, way up for USA Soccer.
Yeah, most definitely.
Which is definitely good because we were sort of the laughing stock of the entire sport not too long ago.
Yeah,
it's a good thing Italy and Netherlands also missed. Otherwise,
well, Italy's won
really bad.
So we got Italy's got a major trophy.
Yeah, Italy's. Yeah, they're back. 34 straight wins, I think it is now for their national team.
Yeah, they're officially back.
They missed the World Cup. They said
no more.
Never again. We'll just never lose ever again.
Yeah. I do have a question for you, Toby. Is Texas back?
All the way horns down. All the way horns down.
He's gonna get kicked out of the off social media, bro. He gets kicked off the internet. Can't throw horns down. Can't throw horns down.
That's what the Big 12 said. As far as I'm concerned, they're not part of it anymore. So
yes, sir.
I'm gonna throw them all season long. I hope everybody else does too.
SEC. The Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns are looking to make a shocking jump over to the SEC. It sounds like it's all but a done deal for them to at least be leaving the Big 12. It's pretty much up to the SEC's discretion at this point whether they want to accept them, which I don't know why they would not, because that is just a lot more revenue dollars bringing in teams the magnitude of Oklahoma and Texas. Now, this seems to be going to be taking place after the completion of the fall of 2024. So as we head into, the spring of 2025, so I believe as early as July 1st, 2025, Texas and Oklahoma are eligible to join the SEC, which would create shockwaves across all over the place. As what will remain of the Big 12? Will they add more teams to get at least back to their original, get back to their 10? Will they try to get back to their old 12? There are a lot of speculation going on about super conferences being created as a result of this, as the Big 12 is not in a good state right now. We'll be left of teams like Oklahoma, Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU, Kansas State, and Iowa State. Lots of question marks there. But with this deal going down, not until the conclusion of the 2025 season, at least the spring of 2025, gives a lot of these teams and these schools really. A lot have been talking about football, but overall it's the entire program. So it gives these programs a chance to figure out what they want to do moving forward. Will we be splitting? Will we be having some? I've heard some talk about, as KU, maybe there'll be basketball, ACC, Big Ten, football. How will K-State do? Will Iowa State, similar thing? Will they be playing basketball in the Big Ten and, football and another thing? So I don't know exactly how that'll go down. But as an advocate for the SEC, I find it really funny and really ironic that Texas wants to come to the SEC, as they are a direct reason for Mizzou and Texas A&M in the SEC as of right now. So I just found it all funny.
Yeah, obviously I'm not a fan.
One last thing. I told you so. And I've been telling all of you from the beginning that Texas will be the downfall of the Big 12. I said it years ago when Mizzou left. And here we are. Everyone was mad at Mizzou for breaking up the border war, for doing this and doing that. I told you Texas would be the ruin of the Big 12. And I am now here to collect.
Yeah, you can't argue that. Texas has ruined the Big 12. They're the ones who caused the teams to leave. When you had Nebraska, Colorado, A&M, Mizzou, we're all there. I mean, it was Texas that forced them to leave. It's Texas that has their own network. It's Texas that gets all the revenue in the Big 12, despite being, in terms of results, not one of the better teams. And what I found ironic was when the Texas AD is up there talking about going to the SEC because people aren't excited for Texas football in the Big 12. They say, oh, they're not excited to play teams like Kansas State or Kansas. As if Kansas State's not like 500 against Texas in this decade. As if Texas isn't one of the one teams that Kansas has beaten in the past decade. One of about a handful of teams that Kansas has actually beaten. Very ironic that it's
10 teams in this decade, and Texas is one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's they're the way that they sort of carry themselves, very ego heavy. I understand why teams don't like being in a conference with them. And when the SEC comes down, when it comes down to voting and all the athletic directors are giving their spiel, I can pretty much assure you Mizzou and A&M's ADs will be in there telling you, like, Oklahoma, fine, whatever. Oklahoma, that'd be another great football team in the conference. But I'm telling you right now, I think that A&M AD is going to fight to keep Texas out as much as he possibly can.
Well, here's the thing. I think the A&M AD, I agree with you. I think the A&M AD will fight on it. I don't think Mizzou as much. Texas really did was doing A&M real bad. I think A&M will fight as much as they can. But here's the thing. I think in the end, the SEC overall will end up letting them in. And here's the thing. The reason why I don't think it will be as big of a deal is because Texas ain't the only bad, the top dog anymore. Texas was the biggest school with the best athletes all over the place back in the day. That is not the case anymore. And the SEC is there are not just a couple, there are a handful of teams I say that are better than Texas in football, which is their main sport. And now, obviously, this past season, Texas was pretty good in basketball. But Alabama's pretty good at basketball, too. We saw an Arkansas team, not too bad. Florida, Kentucky are still there. So Texas is not even going to be the talk of everything going into each season anymore. So they'll know. I think they'll know their place real quick. Now they're going to make a lot of money, which in the end, that's what this seems to be about. But as far as the arrogance, I think that's going to start slowly dwindling down in 2020.
Well, you would think so, but the arrogance hasn't dwindled. I don't think they're hands-on the second best Big 12 team.
No, but
in this past decade.
But as far as history, they've always looked down on the other Big 12 teams. Who are you looking down on in the SEC?
It depends.
You're going to look down on them like Vanderbilt has no beef with Texas. Now, you're not going to be looking down at LSU. You're not going to be looking down at Auburn. What do you mean? They were doing just fine out here, and they don't need you.
You see, but they don't. This is the thing about Texas. I don't think they care about results. They're bigger than everybody, and they know it. They make more money than everybody, and they know it. Yeah. And when they go into the SEC, they're still going to have the bigger, wealthier school than everybody else. So they're sort of just like the state, where it's just kind of there's the rest of us, and then there's Texas. Don't ever speak bad about Texas. Everything's bigger in the heart of Texas. All this BS that comes with including a school like a Texas. And I don't even think it'll be a results-based thing. It's going to be a revenue thing. And even when they're bad, they're still making a lot.
Yeah.
And
at least with this, though, they're not making such a majority more than everyone, which was the Big 12.
Yeah, you'd hope this brings them back down to life. And obviously, I think in terms of results, they haven't had much to celebrate anyway. But this would really be like, oh, okay, this is not.
Well, I'm interested.
This is not TCU anymore.
I am really interested to see in a season where Texas go. Who even knows how many games? I guess they'll still play the 12-game season. But who even knows how many conference games you'll play with having a 16-team conference, which is insane. I'm real interested to see some years where, because Texas was bad, but when they go 6-6, 5-7 a year or two, and out of those 6 or 7 losses, 5 of them are within the same conference. I'm real interested to see how this will shake off, because they were quick to get rid of Charlie Strong, but this thing about to get no better.
No, in terms of win losses, it'll get worse, especially if they move him into, what they've been talking about. It's all speculation at this point, because you don't know who's going to end up where. But yeah, if they move him into the SEC West and it's LSU and Alabama, and they still got to play OU, they got to play A&M, who's been better than them since A&M's moved to the SEC.
Auburn.
I think they moved Auburn East in this hypothetical that I saw, but yeah, if they have to play Auburn, their crossover game, they
move Oklahoma 1-1.
That cross game. I mean, you're gonna have to play Florida, Georgia eventually. Still, So, would it make for some good football? Yes. I'm a fan of the Big 12. I love going to the conference tournament here in Kansas City, all that fun stuff. It definitely sucks to see. Even though these are my 2 least favorite teams in the conference, it still kind of sucks to see it get blown up on the Big 12 standpoint. And then other schools like Oklahoma State is really just left out. With Oklahoma leaving, that'll probably be, I don't know, it could mean the end of Bedlam. Teams like Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, those other Texas Big 12 schools. I mean, where do they go from here? They can't all hop to the SEC, create a 19-team conference. So where do they jump to?
All these teams have big rivals with the schools that are leaving. So Oklahoma State, they don't have a rival with anybody else. So there's no big, draw to Oklahoma State playing anybody else. There's no big draw to Texas Tech playing anyone else besides Texas. Same with Baylor. They're still not even really that big of a draw for TCU. Just they happen to be good every now and then. And that's why I think this is going to hurt teams like Oklahoma State and Kansas State. I think it's going to hurt those two the most, because Iowa State still has Iowa that they can go to. KU has such a great basketball program that anybody, they can create rivalries anywhere. They already play the Michigan State, Kentucky, Duke, classic already. So that in itself is enough clout to, you move them to the Big Ten. Oh, well, it's KU, Michigan State. They already play each other every third year anyway. Then you get them in there. They've had some Final Four matchups against Ohio State. They'll be in there with Michigan, Or you move them to ACC, them and Duke. That's a historic storyline there. Or in North Carolina, I think West Virginia, because of their location, will be just fine. They'll be able to move somewhere. So I think Oklahoma State and K-State and the rest of those Texas schools all have the most. They're like the kid who didn't get picked for the kickball game. So
yeah, and they definitely will. They're gonna have a tough time finding conference realignment. If this is going to happen, it's just going to be Oklahoma, Texas. Then, it'd suck obviously to lose them. They're 2 big money makers, but you probably could add. I would add a team like Houston, Big 12. A lot of those teams in that American Athletic Conference, that was founded not too long ago. I mean, they got rid of the Big East, and they brought in the AAC. All those teams are pretty much subject to move whenever. So, some good showings from a school like Memphis. Some good showings from Cincinnati, who's very good last year. They're on the come up. Houston just made the Final Four in basketball. There's teams out there that you can add. if you want to dip into independence, go out further west, go grab BYU or something. Like, there's teams that you could add to the Big 12 that'll keep it going. The only thing that I worry about happening is, and I've seen this is only rumor, speculation. Obviously, pretty much all of this is, other than the Oklahoma-Texas news. But there was speculation of some of the big teams in the Big 10 trying to move down and join the SEC for like a 20-team super conference.
No.
And if that happens for college football, I think that everything that we like, a lot of the stuff that we like about the sport right now is completely ruined if that happens.
They can't. There has to be some separation. You can't have everyone all on the same, eating at the same table.
Exactly, and it's
what makes it fun is you're all separated, and then you get the best of the best at the end.
Yeah, and that's something that's unfortunate. That's sort of like, it's sort of like,
imagine if Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers played in the same division every year. Like, that's not fun. Yeah, those are great matchups, but that's not fun.
Yeah,
and then probably two of them are not even making the playoffs if that's the case.
Yeah, and this is like similar to the Super League over in Europe, and why I said, it'd be a lot of fun that first time you saw it, that like second time you saw it, but when you start to see the same matchups over and over again, a lot of the glamour
that is in that we already see that already. And, like, how they qualify for those positions is dumb to me. So that's, like, to me, that's why that's –
well, yeah, we've talked about changing a format there but I hear your point. Yeah, so, the matchups, they would be great when you first start out, but then you're playing the same teams over and over again. You would expand the playoff to 12, so you give your super conference more teams that get in. But then, what's the point of playing the rest of the playoff? Because you're just going to be picking people from conferences where they don't play anybody. Then you're going to get the same results. You're going to get beat downs like we saw LSU put on Oklahoma in college football playoff games. You're going to get some blowouts like that. You're going to be asking, why aren't people as interested in the college football playoff? Well, you've watered it down. Not every regular season game means everything now. In college football, you used to be, you really couldn't even afford one loss. Now you can afford maybe one loss if everything goes your way.
We had two teams,
and that's sort of the glory of it all. Like, the beauty of college football is that every single game matters there. That's something that we would definitely lose if it goes to the super conference. So if Texas and OU join the SEC, sucks for the Big 12. Just find teams and move on, but it can't be much more expansion outside of that.
Oh, and I think at this point it can't exceed 16. That's too much. That's so much traveling. Mizzou is already not a Southeastern Conference team. Like, that already is insane.
Yeah, that's I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, if for Kansas basketball, like, those other teams, they have to take a trip out to Kansas, and like, that sucks for them. It's kind of like the Big 12's doing with West Virginia. But imagine you're like Kansas. You play a home game on a Wednesday night in basketball. Then they're like, all right, Saturday, 11 a.m., we're flying you out to North Carolina. Then on Monday, you're going to be playing back at Allen Fieldhouse. Then this Saturday, you're going to go back out, down to Florida to play Florida State. Like, that's a lot. That's definitely a lot.
Check on Wednesday.
Yeah, like, you're starting to travel to play teams where the games aren't even, like, exciting. It's like, well, I guess we'll go up to Massachusetts and beat Boston College by 15 points, and then, we'll just stay up here in Massachusetts for 48 hours before we have to go, to NC State to play. I don't know.
I don't know how they'll do. West Virginia makes it work, but
they do. Yeah.
That's not ideal.
But even then, that's not the
people to do that.
Yeah, that's not something that every team should be doing.
No, like, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but hey, look, this, like I said, this is all funny to me because I've been saying this for years. I'm pretty much at a decade now. So I'm pretty sure Mizzou's last year was 2012 in the Big 12. So we're quickly approaching a decade, which really is crazy because it feels like Mizzou's been a part of the SEC for a while, and it's really only been 8 years. which is insane. Given some of the success they've actually had, especially very early on. So I'm pretty proud. And they're 8 years. I mean, they've been in the SEC championship twice in football. Basketball, they haven't been so great. They were going through the transition there. But
And that's all right.
yeah, I mean, they were ranked at one point this past season. And it did not last long. They got thumped in the game they were ranked, but no, but it'll be exciting still to see, where the SEC was at 8 years ago to where they're at now to where we'll be at in 5 years, less than 5 years now, based on these rumors. Not even rumors, I don't think at this point. It sounds like it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, it's in action now.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So get ready for it. It's just what are the other pieces that will fall and or be added due to these actions. So we definitely had to talk about that because that's a major moving point. That's going to be pretty much going to shape up college sports as we know it, starting in the next 4 years. Because, I mean, we're talking a lot about football, but, I mean, how does that affect basketball and a lot of other sports? So we'll definitely keep you guys posted with anything in regards to that. We have gone way over time, so we are going to cut out, the Creed moment, unfortunately, so Connor will spare you for a week. There's so much sports out there. There's so many creeds we can't even keep track. So we'll give you a pass. I do just want to give a quick shout out again. I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but the United States currently holds the lead in the Summer Olympics as we've done a phenomenal job early on. Like Toby said, we haven't even gotten to the track and field portion of it yet. So lots more medals to be won. Lots more elongated tournaments like the basketball. That one's, stretches over a long period of time just for one medal. So lots to be won there. So currently, as it sits now, as we've been talking, we have won some more medals. We're now up to 29. The top three is the United States with 29, China with 23, and Japan with 20. Japan still holds the lead for the most gold with 11. The United States and China both have 10. So that is just us in a nutshell so far. I want to give a shout-out there. Obviously, there have been quite a few shockers all around across all sports. Of course, the United States, like I mentioned earlier, losing their first Olympic match since 2004. You had Naomi Osaka eliminated from medal contention for the host nation after losing in straight sets. Major news there. Simone Biles withdrew from the competition due to mental health reasons, but was a very good supporter and cheered on her team, who did end up winning the silver medal. So big shout out to her and her support of her team, and big shout out to the Women's United States gymnastics team there, bringing home some silver. So those are kind of the main highlights of the Olympics so far. Plenty more to go. So we'll keep you guys all updated with that. Toby, I'll give you final word over the entire show as far as the Olympics or anything else you wanted to highlight before we sign off for this year's episode.
Man, in 2 weeks there is a lot to say.
Yeah.
Obviously, we missed out on a few things. Novak Djokovic tied our boys, Gannon's guy Rafa Nadal, my guy Roger Federer, for most majors ever. And he's in the Olympics, which means Novak Djokovic can do something that nobody else has done besides a female player named Steffi Graf, which is to win every one of the 4 major Grand Slam titles and an Olympic gold medal. So Djokovic will be going for that here in Tokyo. The Open Championship for golf, Colin Morikawa won a second major. Of course, he's the one who is our age and has now had 2 golf majors won already. So that makes us feel real good about our golf games.
Real quick before you continue, shout out to the 13-year-old who won a gold medal at skateboarding, and then I think a 17-year-old won. 17-year-old won for us in swimming.
Yes, from Alaska.
Yeah, from Alaska, and two 13-year-olds. One won gold, one won silver in skateboarding. That's insane. So
yeah.
big shout out to them.
Oh, yeah. Massive shout out to them. The last thing I'll say about the Olympics, we just watched it tonight. Katie Ledecky, this is truly impressive because she placed third. She had a bronze medal in a medley race. Then she took about 50 minutes in between races before she had to race for another medal. And this one was one that's 30 lengths of the pool. So that's 15 down and backs. Down and back is one, by the way. So
Yeah.
depending on how you look at it, 15 or 30 down and backs. She did that 50 minutes after she competed for a medal, and she obliterated the field, brought home gold for us. That is absolutely unreal. Everybody who's been out swimming or treading water at any point in their life knows that is just
Exhausting.
the most ridiculous thing. And what's even crazier is that she was swimming laps when they cut to her. They were like, yeah, just warming up for my next race. She's just still in there swimming laps. I mean, part human, part fish. It has to be because there's no way somebody swims that long. That's just unreal, unheard of. Huge congrats to her. I love the Olympics, man. Sports on all the time. Right now I'm watching.
I hate
US
the time difference, though.
Oh, the time difference. It's weird, because right now I think it's like, well, they're 14 hours ahead of us.
Yeah. By the time we wake up, it's already the next day.
Yeah. This game is taking place. We're filming this on a Tuesday night. This is taking place on Wednesday here at like 2:00. They've actually already played another basketball game before this, as I'm watching the U.S. men's team about to tip off against Iran.
And think about this, because I'll get this edited and have it out by tomorrow on Wednesday. It'll already be Thursday. And by the time a lot of people will hear it, it'll already be Friday in Japan or Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
You see how hard it is for us to keep up just within a week. So,
yeah.
You miss a couple weeks.
Within 2 days, within 48 hours, it's already like 4 days have passed somewhere else.
Yeah, this is really insane. I mean, and shout out to our listener from Ireland who is 21 hours behind Japan.
Jeez. Hey, we're breaking news for him. We're getting everything ready to go for him. But yeah, but that'll do it for episode 47. Obviously, a little bit of a longer show this time. We had a lot to cover. Thank you guys for sticking with this and listening. Again, hit us up if you want the merch. It's here. I promise you guys, it's here. We are also starting to get – listen, it took us a minute, but it's here. We're starting to get our stuff together as far as our gaming. We resurrect that gaming channel. We do have a YouTube Sports Resort gaming channel. We're going to resurrect that. We are in the process of doing that as well. So a lot more is coming in store. Bear with us. We do have lives outside of this. We have livelihoods, so we have to get with that. But we are on our way. So stay tuned with us. But with that, I just want to say again, thank you guys for listening. You guys have a great one. And be on the lookout again for our NFL special coming up later on this week. We'll get that going. And look for episode 48 as well coming up next week. You guys have a great one.